A lot of people think being single for a long time means something is wrong with you. Like maybe you're too picky, too complicated, too independent, too focused on yourself. But psychologically, that's often not true at all. In fact, some of the highest quality people stay single longer than almost everyone else. Not because they can't find someone, but because they refuse to settle for connections that drain them, confuse them, or force them to shrink who they are. And if you've ever looked around and wondered why people who are kind, emotionally mature, ambitious, loyal, and self aware still end up alone for long periods of time, this video is for you. Because there's actually a deeper psychological reason behind it. And once you understand it, you'll stop seeing your time alone as failure and start seeing it as protection. The first reason high quality people stay single longer is because they've learned the difference between attention and real connection. A lot of people rush into relationships because they're lonely, or bored, or scared of feeling left behind. But emotionally mature people usually pause before attaching themselves to someone. They ask deeper questions. Can I actually trust this person? Do I feel calm around them? Do our values match? Can this relationship grow long term? And honestly, that kind of thinking removes a huge percentage of dating options immediately. Because most connections today are built on temporary excitement, not emotional compatibility. That's why high quality people often take longer. They're not looking for someone just to fill space in their life. They're looking for peace, and peace is rare. Another reason is that high quality people are usually comfortable being alone. That's a big one. People who can't sit with themselves often jump from relationship to relationship because silence feels uncomfortable to them. But someone who has spent time healing, growing, building goals, and understanding themselves doesn't panic when they're alone. Yes, they still want love, but they don't need constant validation to feel valuable. And psychologically, that changes everything. Because when you stop needing relationships for emotional survival, your standards naturally rise. You stop entertaining mixed signals. You stop chasing people who barely try. You stop romanticizing potential. And suddenly dating becomes harder not because good people don't exist, but because you're no longer willing to betray yourself just to avoid loneliness. That's why some people stay single longer after personal growth. Their tolerance for unhealthy behavior drops dramatically. You also have to understand this. High quality people tend to overthink relationships more deeply, not in a toxic way, in an aware way. They notice emotional inconsistency. They notice manipulation. They notice effort. They notice energy shifts. And while other people ignore red flags because attraction feels exciting, emotionally intelligent people usually slow down when something feels off. That awareness protects them. But it can also make dating feel exhausting sometimes. Because once you've experienced emotional maturity, even within yourself, it becomes hard to connect with people who avoid communication, play games, disappear randomly, or only show up when it benefits them. And let's be real, modern dating can make genuinely good people feel tired. You meet someone, things seem promising, then suddenly they become distant, or inconsistent, or emotionally unavailable. After enough experiences like that, high quality people stop forcing things. They become more selective with their energy, not bitter, not cold, just careful. And honestly, careful people often stay single longer than impulsive people. Another psychological reason is this. High quality people usually have strong long term thinking. They think beyond attraction. They think about lifestyle, peace, emotional safety, future goals, character. That's why they don't rush commitment just because someone is attractive or charming. They know chemistry alone cannot carry a relationship. And this is where many people get confused, because society makes it seem like getting into a relationship quickly is some kind of achievement. But staying in the wrong relationship for years can damage your confidence, mental health, motivation, and sense of identity. A lot of people are not single because they're happy. They're just afraid to start over. High quality people would rather wait longer than build a future on emotional instability. That patience often looks lonely from the outside, but internally, it's self respect. And here's another thing nobody talks about. Sometimes high quality people stay single because they're busy building themselves. They're focused on goals, healing, family, career, fitness, purpose. Not because they hate relationships, but because they understand timing matters. They know love should add to their life, not distract them from becoming who they're meant to be. And during that building phase, casual relationships can actually feel emotionally expensive because every wrong connection costs time, energy, focus, and peace. That's why emotionally mature people often become extremely protective of their mental space. Now, of course, being single too long can also create fear. Let's be honest about that. Sometimes people become so independent that they struggle to let others in. Sometimes past heartbreak creates walls instead of wisdom. And that's important to recognize too. Being selective is healthy. Being emotionally unavailable is not. There's a difference. High quality people still need vulnerability. They still need connection. They still need love. But the healthiest ones learn how to stay open without lowering their standards. And that balance takes time, probably more time than most people realize. So if you're someone who's been single longer than expected, don't automatically assume you're behind in life. Some people rush into relationships because they're afraid of being alone. Others stay single because they're waiting for something real. Those are completely different mindsets. And remember this, your relationship status does not define your worth. A relationship is not proof that someone is emotionally healthy, mature, loyal, or fulfilled. There are people in relationships who feel completely alone every single day. And there are single people building peaceful, meaningful lives while preparing for the right connection. The goal isn't just to find someone. The goal is to find someone who aligns with your peace, your values, your effort, and your future. And yes, that can take longer, but usually the strongest things in life do. So if this video connected with you, take one honest look at your standards tonight. Ask yourself, am I protecting my peace or am I protecting my fear? Because knowing that difference changes everything. And if you're still waiting for the right connection, don't rush the process just because the world makes you feel late. Focus on becoming emotionally healthy, emotionally available, and emotionally clear. The right people are usually harder to find because they're rare. And if you're taking your time, maybe that says something valuable about you too. Let's improve together.